Welcome, everybody. I'm Zeus Kerravala, Principal Analyst with ZK Research, and I'm here for another chapter of the 12 Days of Cloudmas. This is day 6, and I'm delighted to be here with my good friend Snorre Kjesbu from Cisco. Snorre, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hi, thank you very much, Zeus, for having me. I've been looking forward to this and the questions you have up your sleeve.
Yeah, well, this is it's great having you because you're in Oslo, and I think you're the guest that I have that's closest to the North Pole of anybody that I'm going to talk to. So that's good to know. Also, 6 is traditionally. Do you remember what 6 is in the 12 Days of Christmas?
No, I don't actually. I probably should have.
Yeah, well, it's 6. I think it's 6 geese-a-laying, but today we'll do 6 Snorres snoring. But don't fall asleep.
Yeah, very good.
So Snorre,
before we get started, Zeus, I must tell you a funny joke as well, though, because yes, I'm in Oslo, Norway, as we speak, and we have some pretty strict Corona rules here at the time. And the Prime Minister was asked by a child the other day whether Santa Claus would get entry into the country. And she responded back that, we operate with red countries, you can't come in, and yellow countries and green countries where you can come in. But Santa comes from a white country and with lots of snow. And because he comes from a country with lots of snow, he's not quarantined. So kids here
I'm in Canada right now, so hopefully we're a white country too, and maybe I'll come visit. So, Snorre, as the sign indicates behind you, you're with Cisco. And Cisco just had a big Webex event, and I've attended a lot of Cisco collaboration events, and I think this is the biggest one you've had. At the event, the SVP of Applications and Security, Jitu Patel, gave this interesting vision of Cisco being able to make virtual meetings 10 times better than in-person meetings. Now, tell me a little bit about that vision and about the event itself. Is this a realistic thing? Can you really have virtual meetings be better than in-person meetings?
Yeah, I think we can. And if I dial the clock back to beginning of March, I would say that until then, collaboration tools were useful tools. And we used them for a number of things. But after beginning of March, it's gone from being useful to kind of be the glue that holds companies together, that have allowed us to do a number of things. But there's another thing that's been interesting as well. And that is that the playing field has almost been democratized, because with everyone on video, everyone is on the same footing. And with that, there has been a number of tools coming into it. And when we talk about 10x better than in person, those are things along the line of being able to have live transcriptions. I mean, that's pretty useful in a number of the meetings I'm in. It's also around being able to have live translation for people with a less understanding of English as you and I speak, or other languages, to have that in place. But it's also a ambition level that we're putting there, because you know that at Cisco we have been driving using AI for a long time, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But how we're using that can be used for a number of useful things. We made an acquisition of a company called Babel Labs with a technology that allows active noise removal, and it basically teaches itself what isn't spoken voice. And one of the most amazing things, so we had some demos with people using a hairdryer in a meeting and putting on a blender. Those are not your typical problems. But still the ability to take out all types of noise, and that being the lawnmower outside or tapping on keyboards. And I had a very good demo of that the other day. A person on my team is just become a parent to a young daughter. And that daughter was sitting on that person's lap and crying out, and I couldn't hear it. I only heard the person talking to me, and then I noticed that person was sort of losing focus, and I said, "What is it?" And that member of my team said, "But can't you hear it?" And I said, "No, I can literally not hear that baby crying." And I think that again, it showed that somebody could participate. We could get things done without and really bridging that. And when we think about that strive for 10x better, it's not only about those 2-3 things, it's a number of things. You saw it through some of the acquisitions we're doing. You see it what we're implementing both on devices and applications to get that broader. And that's what we're working towards. And if I can add one thing there, I think as well, when people are starting to come back in the office and always having somebody remote, I think being able to have some of these features that can actually make sure we don't get a barrier between the two, I think is why these features are good.
Well, that's interesting. So this isn't just about the whiz-bang features of virtual backgrounds and being able to create cartoon avatars of themselves, right? This is actually about features that change the dynamics of virtual meetings so that I can, in fact, I like the transcription feature personally, even if I'm in a live meeting with no virtual participants. I put on transcription, so I don't have to take notes anymore. So that's really interesting. Now, you're the I don't want this to go to your head, but I consider you to be maybe the device guru in the industry. You spent some time at Bang & Olufsen. I think one of your counterparts from the old Tandberg company said that all great video devices have ever been built have been built in Oslo. So, you know, knowing that you're sort of in the heart of device where really high quality devices work, I'm going to ask you this question about how do devices fit into that overall 10x experience?
Yeah. So thank you for those kind words. And I would like to say, you know what, I'm just fortunate enough to be able to lead this team. The team is the really true rock star. And I must say that the developers and the PMs and everyone that's actually being part of developing it is second to none. And
well, good device design is hard though, so you guys should pat yourselves on the backs. So.
Yeah, but it's really about the team, and I'm a very lucky guy that can lead it. But how does it fit in? It fits in several places. I think that the areas that we're looking at in particular is obviously work from home. A lot of people are doing that at the moment. Then it's the return to the office and doing that in a safe manner. And then when you have returned to the office, we have statistics now that shows that people expect that 98% of meetings when you have returned to the office will have at least one video participant into it. And if that's going to work, you need to also democratize that experience when people are back in the office and you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 still being on video. You need the right gear at home for people that are high volume users. And you know, for lower volume users, you know, Webex app is more than good enough. But for high volume users like you and I now, I sit here with my beautiful Desk Pro, probably spending 10, 11, 12 hours a day on this thing. You need that to be able to communicate. And then I have my Mac next to me here to be able to compute at the same time. So I think that's a space for it. Then when you get back into the office, in order to be able to take in that 1, 2, 3, 4 people into those meeting rooms, huddle rooms, collaboration rooms that you need in the office, then you also need gear that's capable of doing that. And that has the features back again to the 10x better, where if somebody raises their hand, that is detected and you get that across. And I think, again, by using AI, you can actually tear down that barrier did you get between those that came into the office and those that couldn't that day. And then one other thing that I think is worth mentioning as well, that is around safe return to office. So what we can do today is we detect how many people are in a meeting room. And then we can issue a warning. If you are above a certain distance, if you are too many people in the room, and all of a sudden you have all of these things that can drive policy that can help both the HR organization, you know, the CIO organization, WPR, etc., etc. And then you have the journey in between the office and or the home and the office, where using headsets and other things are key. So I think it's definitely a place. And for some, and if I can add on that note, I see a number of companies now that are taking the COVID crisis as an opportunity to rebuild office space. They go down a little on footprint, but they increase on everything that has to do with meeting rooms, collaboration rooms, huddle rooms, all those type of things, so that the office truly becomes a place where you can huddle and collaborate and meet. But all of those spaces must be collaboration enabled. And I think that is one of the key drivers.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. As an analyst, I get asked all the time, is the device industry dead? And when I look at the fact that even the pure, in fact, that we had a Twitter conversation about this the other day about the life of devices, and one of my colleagues pointed out actually that all software companies have to really understand hardware design. The fact that Google makes their own devices, Amazon makes their own devices, even Facebook's making their own devices, right? So clearly the device isn't dead. Now at Webex One, Cisco actually announced a few new devices. Can you give me a quick summary of those?
Yeah, so Cisco, we come from a position of strength on the devices side, and we have a full phone lineup, and even like wireless phones, you can run over by a forklift, lift it up, and it will work, which has been essential to those frontline workers, being at a hospital or warehouses or stores and things like that. Then we have obviously the room systems that are there, and then for a long time we've also had a device sitting on the desk. But what we really announced at Webex One was how we're strengthening that desk footprint. That is not because we're going out of any of the other, it's in addition to. And we announced the Webex Desk Camera, which is a smart USB cam. Will be really good when you travel, when you're at home, and when we can start traveling again, of course. We announced the Webex Desk Hub, which is truly a hub, which in the office can make any shared space into your personal space. You can go in, you can log in, and it will make it Zeus or Snorre space as you sit down. And to it, you can connect the headset or the USB cam, etc. And it really is truly a hub and a great audio and video device. And again, with safe return to office, can manage office space. So I think it's really a 3-in-1 type of packet. And then the final announcement we had was what we call the Webex Desk. That is the little brother of the Webex Desk Pro that we have in the market at the moment. It is a very capable device with all the smartness that we have in the Pro, but the screen is a little smaller and the resolution is a little lower, and the price point will be where you have the DX80 today, and really making sure that we have a USB cam, then we have the Desk Hub, then we have the Desk and the Desk Pro with like a full lineup to make sure people then have an offer at home in the office for different type of workloads. If you're using a lot of video, you probably want a Pro. If you're using less, you probably would be fine with the USB cam.
That's interesting. Actually, in full disclosure, I actually have a Desk Pro in my the place where I live in San Mateo, and I can attest to the quality of that thing is outstanding. So I've had a great experience with that. So as that brings us to the end of this chapter of the 12 Days of Cloudmas, I'm Zeus Kerravala. I'm going to, on behalf of Snorre Kjesbu from Cisco, thank you very much and see you on day 7.